again and welcome back. It's been actually a while that I haven't talked about the concept of God and religion, but now I will talk about it because a new idea has struck me debating some people in the comment section. It's the idea of free will, that God actually gives us free will. Let's just pretend in this video that God actually exists, okay? And he gives us free will, alright? So this is given and this is true. If God actually created humans and give them free will in order to test them whether they meet the requirements of joining him in heaven or they deserve to be punished in hell after. Wouldn't this actually be such a bad deal for that particular person who did not exist and was brought forth to existence only to be tested and fails in the test? If he failed in the test, he was only brought forward to existence to fail and be punished in the hereafter. So I would think that that would actually be analogous with me being a father, okay? And just have children, like a couple of children of mine, just make them have a test, okay? And I get to keep the one who wins in the test, and for the others, I will just disown them. I mean, doesn't that strike you as being unfair? I mean, the ones that failed the test didn't ask to be here. They definitely didn't sign to be inside this whole deal of being tested. I mean, they were in a realm of non-existence and they were brought forward to existence only to be tested. And now that they have failed the test, they would suffer the consequences of failing. I mean, I wouldn't have any problem with somebody claiming that this father is actually a moral monster for doing such thing, making his children go through this hardship of being tested. So anyone, even religious people, would claim that that person is actually a monster and should be locked up. But isn't God actually doing the same, creating humans without their consent and test them only to decide whether they should go to heaven or should be punished in an eternity of hellfire? A test is a form of necessity. When we have a teacher teaching his students and testing them at the end of the semester, it is because the test is a form of necessity, that it is necessary that I test those students whether they actually acquired the skills for passing. But the students here are necessary, their existence is necessary in the teacher's perspective. And it happens that reality is such as thus. We need to test people in order for us to put them in their suitable jobs or their suitable higher studies or things like that. But the teacher here definitely didn't choose reality. He definitely didn't choose whether the students should exist. He definitely didn't choose that this whole system of testing should take place. A teacher is only following orders. This would not be analogous with God creating you to test you. Being created for a test has more harm to you than benefit, because you are in a state of non-existence, then you find yourself in a state of existence only to be tested with a 50% chance of failing. If you say that God actually enjoys this whole theater unraveling before his eyes, and he just enjoys people going to hell, he just enjoys the thrill and the action of it, I would agree, yes. But when you say that he's actually benevolent, I would definitely not agree. If he was benevolent, he would just put everybody in heaven, or even more than that, he wouldn't create anybody, because upon creating anyone, this particular individual being created has a chance of suffering. Even if you reward him with an eternity in heaven, that particular pain was definitely unnecessary. Speaking of a God who is omniscient, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent, it could have definitely be otherwise. But let's just put the topic of testing aside. Let's just discuss free will, that is presumed that it is God-given, okay? And whether we actually go to hell or go to heaven, it's actually our own responsibility. Of course, this whole argument would be done in seconds if I just claimed that God being omniscient, yet he created you, knowing that you're gonna suffer in hell, yet he created you. The argument of free will doesn't work. We cannot have an omniscient God and have you having free will, because you cannot contradict the absolute knowledge of God. And free will dictates that you should be able to do otherwise in a resembling scenario. But you cannot do that because God knew that you would be choosing A over B. You cannot break God's knowledge, okay? And even God himself cannot be free if he is omniscient, because he is omniscient and he keeps on track in the future events, okay? Whatever he thinks that would happen in the future, he would just follow the independent events that just unravel themselves in the ontology of the future. If God knew the future, he cannot be free because there is an independent system of events, of future events just happening. If he goes against the future events that he knew, then he is not omniscient. If he follows the chain of events that he sees or perceives in the future, he is omniscient, but not free, because he is following an independent system of future events. Independent. It's just there. But anyway, let's just say God right here is not omniscient, and he gives you free will. And this free will of yours can either take you to paradise or take you to hell. Okay? So is it actually okay? Is it safe? Would it be correct for me to claim that it's actually 50-50%? It's 50% that you can either go to hell and 50% that you can go to paradise. If you claim that this is not the case, that it's not 50%, 50%, you are claiming that you are presupposed to choose one another. If you're predisposed to choose the things that make you go to paradise, therefore you are not free, because you have a priori. You have a priori, therefore your essence preceded your existence. Okay? And you are predisposed to choose A over B. Where is free will over here? It cannot be the case. So it could only be the case if it was 50-50. But the problem here is, if it was 50-50, we cannot have some standard of choosing, because if it was 50-50, the whole event of choosing would be random, not based on any standard of choosing. If I choose an apple over banana, I definitely choose an apple over banana because of preference, of taste. Okay? If the choices were 50%, 50%, me choosing an apple would be as much as me choosing a banana. Therefore, me choosing the behavior or the type of life that would lead me to paradise would be the same as choosing the type of life that would lead me to hell after. The agent here is definitely not free. His actions are random. And we can only solve this randomness by having a standard of choosing, something which actually makes the individual choose. And what is this choice? Preference. Preference that is based on experience. If preference is based on experience, we can track down this experience through the chain of memories, and we can find that those experiences are sitting up on experiences that you haven't chosen. Therefore, if experience A lead to experience B, and you haven't chosen experience A, you haven't also chosen experience B. If A gives B, A is constrained. Doesn't that make B also constrained? It definitely does. So if choosing life that leads you to hell is 50%, and choosing a life that leads you to paradise is actually 50%, it becomes random. There is no free agent here. Okay? If you are choosing, okay, if you are consciously choosing between hell and paradise, you must have a preference of choice. And where does that preference of choice comes from? It comes from experiences. We can track those experiences back until experiences that you haven't chosen. Okay? Like the type of country, your genetics, type of school you have went to, type of friends you have, type of parenthood, type of social conditioning, your psychological inclinations, your gender, whatever. So from your own perspective, this whole idea of testing is definitely not rational, because you definitely cannot have free will. And it's not fair to you that you were brought to existence only to be signed into a system against your will, a system that might take you to hell after, just because you exist as you are, just because you were brought to existence in the wrong country or in the wrong neighborhood or with the wrong parents. But let's switch the angle from the individual, the testee, to the tester. Let's see things from God's perspective. God brings humans forward, makes and creates humans, and gives them a test. You can either choose to go to hell after, or choose to go to heaven. Of course, any rational being would choose to go to heaven. But again, if this rational being did that, it's not because of his free will. I mean, who wants to go to hell? Who wants to suffer for eternity? The nature of things dictates that you choose to go to heaven. Your nature, the avoidance of pain and pursuit of pleasure, makes you choose that. It's not that you choose it freely. Is that the nature of things, that you're obeying orders. But for me personally, God doing this is very much analogous with me, okay? It's very much analogous with me having a tasty, normal, healthy candy in one hand and having a poisonous, venomous, toxic candy in another hand. And I just give them to a child and I order him to just choose. If he chooses this hand, he is free to go. If he chooses this hand, he would be suffering. You claim that God actually gave us free will to either choose whether to go to heaven and whether to go to paradise. What type of benevolent God actually creates a choice that would directly harm you? If I was to do that and created wickedly the option of choosing this hand which contains a toxic candy, and I have given the option for a child to choose either this hand or this one, presuming that he is free to choose, don't I have some type of moral accountability for creating this particular choice and then just right there wickedly observing him whether choosing that? I'm just enjoying the thrill. I'm enjoying the action of it and the suspense of what will he do. That's wicked. That's fiend and wicked and evil. If you say no, the existence of hell is necessary for humans to be good, well, therefore the existence of hell is actually independent of God. It's actually contingent on God's existence, but it must be the case. God here is not a free agent who decides for himself, but it is the nature of things that dictate that hell must be present. It is also the nature of things that humans must exist for you to get the pleasure of watching this theater before your eyes. Therefore, there are some independent entities and there are some independent system of causes and reasons that you must follow if you want to reach some type of goal. That wouldn't be the case if you were self-sufficient, because a self-sufficient being doesn't desire any goal to begin with. A self-sufficient being has anything and doesn't desire, because if you desire, it only implies that you do not have the thing that you desire. Because if you had it and you were self-sufficient, you wouldn't desire, because you would have everything. And desire implies that you do not have the thing that you desire. But anyway, I've just decided to analyze this whole topic of free will between God in this short video. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you sticked around until this particular point, don't forget to like and subscribe and check my channel for more videos of this sort. And thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.